I'm Josh Harris, Associate State Director for AARP Illinois. We're so glad to welcome you to this exciting event. AARP knows this pandemic has been trying on us all, threatening the health and financial security of millions of Americans 50 plus. That's why it is our pleasure to bring you this night of levity, some fine art, and great music to help us all recharge, connect, and address some of the social isolation we know people are feeling at this time. It's our way of reminding you that AARP Illinois is here for you, fighting to protect 50 plus voters and make your voice heard on the issues that matter. Protecting Social Security and Medicare, lowering prescription drug prices, and ensuring you can vote safely from home or in person. So enjoy the next 2 hours with Gallery Gashard, 95.1 Chicago, and the talented Nick Coleon and Teresa Griffin. And in the days leading up to the election, know that you can visit aarp.org/IL for more information to help you vote safe in 2020 and make your voice heard.
All right, hi, and welcome to the Phantom Gallery Chicago Network. You're here at the Bronzeville Art Loft on 47th Street. This development has been here since 2014, and we're participating in the Bronzeville Art District trolley tour. We have turned our space into a virtual space, and we're on the second floor, 205, Phantom Gallery Chicago Network. I'm going to be displaying work from my collection, which is the Grandmother Circle. Some of the works are part of the matriarch series that I'm doing of my grandparents, and some of the other work are works that are collections of other artists that have participated in shows in the past. A little bit about a Phantom Gallery Chicago Network. We're a group and a collective group of artists that show. We have our own practice. We're doing a virtual studio where we're calling artists in their spaces. This month, I'm being featured, myself, Alpha Butana. I am an artist. Talver, Germany. She is in Mather, California, and she is a practicing artist as well as an art professor. Our other artist that we are featuring is Renee Baker. Renee Baker is our resident artist, and she has an artillery gallery here inside the Loft. Our Loft space is a space that I run programming out of. The Phantom Gallery is a charitable trust, and it is a nonprofit, and we work with artists and do like workshops. We do professional development trainings, and before the pandemic, we did pop-ups in alternative exhibition space. We have always been a virtual studio where we do blog talk radio. We also interview artists in other cities and showcase their art. So that is why this summer we're saying virtual studio openings. All right, so the work that I'm displaying is part of the Grandmother Circle. This is an assemblage piece, and it's titled Miss Bessie Coleman. And it's around grandmothers, and if you have a grandmother, sometimes they take things loose. They may take a hat and redesign it. They may take clothes for Sunday morning, and they always take and repurpose their clothes or hats. And so this is what I've done with this piece and how I do my assemblage work, by taking things apart and then putting them back together and forming a composition. I was asked by Gerald Griffin Gallery to be part of a matriarch exhibition, and so he asked 5 artists from Chicago to show their work and what it means to be the matriarch. And I am the matriarch of my family, and I've been that for over 24 years. I've been the matriarch of our family. So these pieces here are, they're assemblage as well on wood, and they are kind of telling a narrative and a story about my family. This piece here is, if you look at it, you could tell it looks like you're in water, and it's about us leaving Africa and on our voyage, and by was my grandmother's favorite hymn. And so I put the waves in it, and images and collages in it to represent my grandmother on my mother's side, Mama Creasy. This piece is assemblage on wood, and it depicts the scrub board, the washing board, when back in the day when people went outside and they did laundry and used the clothesline, right? And so I put those elements in for outdoors as part of what people did when they're in the country. My family is from the northern Texas area, and they had a farm, and we always talk about reparations and 40 acres and a mule. Well, my family got the 40 acres and a mule, and so that's part of what I was doing with this image here, is showing, a lot of this is tobacco, and they grew they didn't really grow cotton, but they were farmers. All right, these pieces here are by artist Lollipop Formula, and he was part of our experimentalism exhibition that happened last summer. He's presenting these armatures as wire, and he has these concrete blocks that he created. He is a scientist, and he does a lot of work in concrete, and that transfers into his art when he goes into the digital art and abstract work. This exhibit was called Experimentalism, and I had invited 3 artists, and in their work they do a lot of experimentation. I collected this piece from artist Phil Cotton, and it's called Fetch Piece, and it's made of wood and found objects. This is part of a modernism exhibition. There's an art movement called postmodernism that a lot of African Americans participated in, and we're really not known in that era when we talk about art. So I invited artists that their work has influenced by postmodernism to exhibit. Lois Stone was also an artist as part of that exhibit last year. Interesting enough, these wings came from T. Rock Moore, and T. Rock Moore, she did a huge installation on art and social justice and was featured at Gallery Gashard, and she got national press, for her. And I went to New Orleans, and artists trade art with each other, so I inherited the wings from her installation. So I came back, and I used these wings as part of an installation when and I change it out and change it in when I'm working on social justice work and use her pieces like that. Some of the other work that I have on this wall are artists like Nick Cologne. He did these social justice pieces here, and I collect some of his work. And then you'll see Roger Carter has some found objects here that he left, and the Phantom Gallery inherited those pieces that he didn't want to take with him, so I show his work sometimes. These works that are in the corner here, these are artist Afro Cobra. They were donated to the gallery. We had a large art donation, and because we're a charitable trust, and we get things that are donated, then I have like an inventory that I can have artists, give to other artists that need supplies or whatever. So we're in the annex or the artillery gallery of our resident artist, Renee Baker. Renee Baker is known in the classical world as a composer and a violist. She is known and does huge projects with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. She's had exhibitions at the Museum of Contemporary Art. Renee and I are going to do a collaboration in 2021, the Boston Museum of Modern Art, of course, in Boston. If you go online and Google Renee, because she has a huge repertoire of work that she does in the classical world. But she's here in Bronzeville at the Phantom Gallery as a resident artist, and she does a lot of experimental work. She also does experimental film, and we do pop-ups on the horizontal landscape, basically outside, and we do projections. When it wasn't COVID, we'd be outside and we'd be doing projections with experimental film. But this installation is called Because We Are Nature, and she did it in partnership with a poet by the name of John Cone, and it's called An Inspiration from Poet John Cone, Application for Life. Because we are in nature is a surreal environment that shows how pleased we are with ourselves. Because we are in nature is an exhibition of our everyday life and fears. Too fat, too skinny, did we leave the stone on? Are our teeth too yellow, scared of worms and turnips? The taste of fingernail clippings are too ugly? Are your panty lines showing? Frightened of bees and electric wiring? We are components of nature and fears. Because we are nature, pieces that are on display here.
Thank you for joining us here with the Phantom Gallery Chicago Network. I'm Alpha Breton. I'm the Chief Curator and your host. Our next presentation will be on artist in resident Renee Baker. She is sharing an experimental film. Next. She produced a series called Tactical Urbanism in the Horizontal Landscape as a pop-up outdoor cinema. Enlarge, enlarge.
Can you hear me?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Great. I'd like to speak a bit about the film and what you're seeing.
Please.
So everybody can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Hi. This is Renee Baker, and I want to tell you a little about the film that you're watching. It is a piece of experimental film, but not without interest. The title of the film is Keep the Body, Take the Mind. And this was inspired by a saying from that great orator, Willie Lynch, who basically told slave owners that the way to keep your slaves under control was to subdue them. So in this particular format, it's a little hard to see maybe on a small screen, but basically this woman is being terrorized. And so if you can look at her facial expressions and look at the malice with which this man looks at this woman, we understand that this is not just about slavery, but it is also about feminism and the lack of seriousness with which most women are taken. The art was in the earlier part of the film, basically talks about the fact that in Black experimentalism, it can take many, many forms. So typically, and I'm being very, very broad, we think that if it's Black art, it has to have Black faces and Black references. But the fact is, if it's created by a person of color, and if it's created in particular by a Black person, then it is Black art. So I do specialize in the genre of silent film, but with experimental film, I'm able to access recesses in people's minds where they don't generally see Black artists expressing themselves. With many of the art pieces that you saw earlier in the film, those were pieces that were used to choreograph dance sequences and collaborations between dancers and an orchestra. So I don't know if you could see the dots and things very clearly, but it is a choreographic language, and the scores are designed to give instruction to the orchestra. So it's called CCL, Cipher Conduit Linguistics, which is a gestural conducting language that I developed to use with graphic scores with large ensembles. Hope this is making sense. Alpha, thank you for presenting the current installation in the gallery. It's really important to me that conceptual art also be included in the African American canon, because I find that in my particular arena, I do a lot of things. I do film, I do composition, I conduct, I paint, I do sculpture. And so it's all one big expression for me. So I know the film is still going, but I was really hoping to just give you a little more information about the abstract nature, but not really abstract, of what it is that you're seeing.
Thank you, Renee. Do you want to say something about your current installation, Because We Are Nature?
Yes, Because We're Nature was based on the poem by John Cone. And basically what I'm trying to show is that we all have what I call junk drawers in our lives. So those 5 drawers, which were found along with the detritus or the items that are in the drawers, represent the hidden agendas that we all have, the things that we all hide, that we don't want to be seen. But if you're from the South, I know in our house, everybody has a junk drawer. And slowly but surely, you have to unload those things and make space for new ideas, for new objects. But you know that you can always go to that drawer and find what you need. So that was the inspiration for that particular installation. There are also paintings on the wall in that studio that represent looking out to the future, and how we can sometimes just clear a little open spot in a frosted window in hopes of seeing something outside or seeing something on the other side. I hope that makes sense to everyone.
Very interesting. I love it.
Now, as it's going, as a point of reference, for those of you that are in New York, at the end of last summer, I recorded scores for 6 films for the Museum of Modern Art in New York, for MoMA. Due to their renovations and due to the pandemic, they haven't been shown there. But they were doing a special on the life and work of Bert Williams. And I guess it's under wraps right now, but the project's been completed. And so I really enjoyed doing museum work. And it was a great honor for them to call me. The scores that the pictures that you're seeing right now are actually part of a score that was written for a piece called Suite du Sable that was presented at the Du Sable Museum in honor of Jean-Baptiste du Sable, the founder of Chicago. And these are actual painted scores that are now in someone's collection. And I thank you all for tuning in. And thanks to Alpha for supporting my huge vision for art, collaborating, and installations. I've been able to do so much through the Phantom Gallery, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Renee, for that presentation. Creative Conversation, Artists, Curators, Art Talks. On Tuesdays at 11 a.m., the Phantom Gallery calls artists to talk to them about their art practice and what they're doing, in their art practice. And I asked them to talk about their trajectory and what they're doing and how their life started as an artist. And it's a very creative conversation, very casual, and it's through Blog Talk Radio. It's on Tuesday, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. So won't you guys please join us? I will send you the link through our chat, and we have an interesting conversation this Tuesday with artist David Noeri, and he is part of the Soul Work exhibition that was held in June at the Evanston Arts Center. Next. Carol Henry Alexander, Artist with a Purpose. Carol's focus in art practice is on arts and wellness, environmental art, and art and social justice. Carol is a featured artist, and she has been a long time friend of mine, and we support each other. She lives in Clinton, Maryland. Next. Reaching for Gallery 157, Moultrie, Alabama. Daphne Burgess, she is co-owner of the Gallery 157. She's also a featured artist. And they do experimental film. Milton Bowens is the other co-owner of the gallery, and he does a lot of work in art and social justice. Next. Shona Mcdaniels with Sojourner Truth Multicultural Art Museum will be a featured artist with the Phantom Gallery this year, and she will be exhibiting next year. She's currently doing a pop-up at the same time we're doing our trolley tour?
Okay, so as Ms. Alpha mentioned, I'm Shona Mcdaniels. I'm a muralist, a visual artist, and art instructor, and I am the founder of the Sojourner Truth African Heritage Museum in Sacramento, California. Every first and third Friday for the past year and a half, we've been having youth pop-ups, which is sponsored by the city of Sacramento. Something for the kids to come and do on Fridays and Saturdays. And this initiation came out of the killing of Mr. Clark, Stephon Clark. And there was a small riot in Sacramento at one of the malls. The youth were really frustrated, and they felt their voices were not being heard. And leaders in Sacramento and the city decided to come up with something, again, positive for youth to do on Friday and Saturday nights. And so at our pop-up, our focus, of course, is visual arts, performing arts, music, dance. We have African drumming. We have sewing machines here. They can come and sew. We have culinary arts. We have African dance, hip-hop dance, and about 15 visual art pop-up tables. They can come and make jewelry. They can paint. They can make soap. You name it, they can do it. And of course, with the shutdown, all of that changed, and we moved all of our programs online. And we have other programs. We have a youth band. We moved that online, and this is one of the programs that we moved online virtually. The families can come and pick up an art in a bag, which is what our kids are doing right now, our youth. We stipend them to come and fill up all of these amazing bags with art materials, and the families can come pick up their bags and then get a hot meal. So that's one of the things that we also prepared when the families were coming in person, is a hot meal. So the families will be here shortly to pick up the bag, get their hot meals, and then go home and follow the artists online. We've already shared all of the Zoom links and passwords with the families. And so quickly, I'm going to show you some of my work. We are expanding at the museum, so I'm going to quickly show you the space that we are doing the renovations. And then we have over 2,000 square feet of murals that myself and other artists, including Alpha, has painted over the past 25 years of history on the wall. So quickly, I'm going to showcase that, and then I got to hold on just 1 second. I think I lost it. I got to get back to business. So this is one of my paintings right here. I don't know if you can see it here. I don't know if you can even still hear me. So this is one of my paintings right here.
Beautiful. Mm-hmm.
Move quickly. I dedicated this piece to Miss Catlett right here. This is another piece right here that I did. I do a lot of mixed medium. So there's over a few hundred beads on this piece right here. It's a rather large piece. I like to paint large. This is another piece that I dedicated to Lois Miley Jones. I don't know if you can see all of it right here in the back. This is one of the recent pieces that I did that was in a recent show. The Nubian Woman. I have another piece on the wall here. I don't know if you can see. That's another recent piece. There's another piece that I did. Paper mache, a lot of paper mache on this piece, and collaging. Inspired again by one of my favorite artists of the Harlem Renaissance, Lois Miley Jones. This is another mixed medium piece. I actually have rice on the bowl and fabric and real beads that I use on the piece. And of course, this is more artwork by other artists that's in the space. This is another piece, collage piece. that I dedicated to Marcus Garvey, the Honorable Marcus Garvey right here. So this is a part of one of our spaces here, dedicated to, I'm talking really fast, but dedicated to Sojourner Truth. And of course, we do have Harriet Tubman in the space as well. And this is a new space that we just acquired like 2 weeks ago that is 1,700 square feet of space. We just started working in this space. We have a space that's going to be dedicated to the Black pioneers of the middle 1800s to the early 1900s. So we're recognizing the Black town of Allensworth, and a lot of the furniture that you see in this space is dedicated to that town right here. We have a whole wall with information on the town of Allensworth here. I don't know if you can see it here. And we have, so when people walk into this space, it's like they're going back in time. The wall right here we're still working on. It's going to be dedicated to Mr. Lijedolf. He's the Black man that owned the town of Folsom, California. So we're working on the pieces that's going to go on this wall. We have Sarah Rector right here. She was one of the richest Black girls in the world, and we have a piece that's dedicated to her, Archie Lee, right here on this wall. And this wall right here is going to be dedicated to sharing information about Negro Bard that was in Sacramento, California. This entire room we're going to dedicate to the Dunlap Restaurant. It was the first Black-owned restaurant in Sacramento. So all of these paintings are not going to be on this wall. Miss Dunlap, she loved the color pink, so we're going to get a picture of the restaurant and have it enlarged to take up the entire wall. It was a pink house. Inside was pink, so we're going to paint the walls in here pink. We're going to have pictures of her and her family, a little desk that we have in here that we're going to have information about the reservation book. And so we're really excited about this.
That's Shona Mcdaniels. Again, she was rushing through because she's doing a pop-up. They serve over 200 people, and they also serve senior citizens on their pop-ups where they have the youth take food and dinners to the seniors, and then they follow their pop-up online. Shona, during the pandemic, had to transfer all of her programming to Zoom. So we got a chance to catch her as she was running around right before hers started up. So again, this is Shona's art practice. She is a practicing artist, and she's been working for 25 years with the museum. And she's currently working with Art and Business District there to create an art and placemaking project with her expansion. Our next presenter, Talver, is featured artist, Talver, Germany. Talver and I are long-term artists and friends in the arts. A little bit about Talver. She's going to really actually talk about herself. Talver, she's on the call here. Can someone unmute Talver? Talver is a native of Sacramento, and she received her BA degree in studio art and a BA in social science and anthropology. She from the California State University of Sacramento. Currently, she's an associate professor of art at the Folsom Lake College. And she holds a membership in the Placer Arts Association, the San Francisco Fine Art Museum, Sacramento African American Art Collection, the Phantom Gallery Chicago Network, and the California Arts Association. Talver is a co-curator of the African American Arts Summit at Sacramento City College and in San Jose. Presently, she is the co-founder and director of the Visual Arts Development Project, and she exhibits widely throughout Northern and Southern California. She is a professor at the Folsom Lake College.
Yes, I'm very excited to be a part of this. It's part of my nature and who I am as a female artist, and especially an African American artist. I met Alpha many, many years ago, and at the time that I met her, I was a full-time counselor at the community college. I have a master's in counseling, and I've always been an artist, true and hard, ever since I can remember. So it just was a part of me that was leaking and seeking out. And so at the time that I met Alpha, she was very instrumental, and we were partners in crime a lot of times. But we put together a lot of incredible opportunities for emerging artists, and especially for ourselves as artists. So
Calvert says we were partners in crime because we were able to pull off an African American Arts Summit and not ask for funding from the California Arts Council nor the Sacramento Metropolitan Arts Commission. And what we did from the boots up is we funded it, and all the artists that participated in the summit, the California Arts Council said that we were able to do something that in the history of the council, they had not been able to do. And so we started receiving funding, of course, after that, but not while we were trying to pull all the money together to have artists from all over the state. And our speaker was from Purdue University, where we got him. And that was funded through Celebration Arts, Visual Arts.
right.
Hey, you want to start your slides?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Alpha. I'm very proud and happy to be here and to talk about my work. Trying to move my, yeah. This is basically a little presentation on my experience working with my students at Folsom Lake College Rancho Cordova Center. And it's an outreach center that's relatively brand new. And here I had no idea, but one of the students was recording. But the whole idea was to develop a demonstration on the use of watercolor. And because I like watercolor, in the transparency, the ability to move watercolor in various directions and to add on. And so what I was doing here is giving a demonstration to my students to show them how important watercolor can be, and also how it can foster the import of other mediums such as pen and ink, even acrylic. So that was my presentation there. Let's see. And this particular slide is a landscape. And I really, truly love working with landscape. And a lot of times, the idea of developing a landscape is truly my expressive nature. And I can look at landscape and come to an understanding that how I can articulate the particular landscape that I'm part of and immersed in. So my colors, my lines, my form, the illumination of light and depth and balance, all are extremely important to me. and also the ability for my landscapes to show motion and to show rhythm. So this is a landscape that I created, my personal experience in Jamaica, and it's called Jewel Nights in Jamaica. And these are the colors that was presented to me at night, coming from Negril to Montego Bay. Incredible. Again, here's the Malibu sunset on my way to Kingston. And this is actually a bird's eye view, because if you're not familiar with Jamaica, traveling from Montego Bay to Jamaica, you're extremely high up in the hills. And there is this part where there's an incredible view of the beach, the landscape, and it's a bird's eye view. And so to me, I wanted to emulate that. But I also wanted to not be so concerned about details, or I wanted to be just this feeling of flowing colors, feeling of beautiful organic shapes, the illumination, and the
May I ask a question?
that movement that I always search for in my work. And
Yes.
I just wanted to ask the artist a question.
Okay, so she's presenting. I think you could ask the question in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
And here, this particular figurative drawing is done in pastel, oil pastel. And again, I'm searching for that sense of movement in the background. The foreground is pretty much explanatory. But I also wanted to interject a bit of abstraction of the figure. And I felt like it worked out pretty well. It was done many years ago, but I like the focus of the face and the tentative serenity that the figure presents. And then here, this particular slide is of a boat that you see quite a bit in Jamaica. They're just empty, hauled out boats, and it was interesting to me, so I developed it using pastel, soft and oil pastels. It's a mixed media. I also included a bit of acrylic, and so I think it turned out pretty well. And again, if you look at the water texture, again, I'm looking for that sense of movement. These particular watercolor paintings are a tribute to Frida Kahlo. And one day I was doing a presentation in my art history class, and a presentation on Frida, and it just stuck with me. And I think the most important part of this particular set of watercolors was that I was thinking of her sense of torment in her life, and her duality of her personal life, and her inabilities to function normally because of her previous growing up, her previous accident in life, and also her its tortured experience with her husband. So I saw the dresses that she wore also is part of her cultural heritage, is that she was part Mexican and also European. Her father was German, her mother was Mexican. So that was really important to me as I was providing that information to my students. And again, it just stuck with me. And so this is my interpretation of Frida. And here, this slide is representing my first experience in Jamaica, in Negril. I was just so overwhelmed with the beauty, and it just was just so overwhelming. And so here again, I'm searching, trying to understand what it means to show movement in my water, and bringing in those magical jewel colors. So that's where and here, these particular slides are of roots, and I labeled the triptych roots because I was thinking of what it was like to come to America as a slave. So these are the colors that just arose in my mind, in my heart, in my soul, and how they intersect with one another. And it was very humbling to work on these particular paintings. But I felt like I got something out of it, and I felt like that I made that connection with my ancestors. So, and here, this is just a watercolor painting. I think I did it in 2 hours, and my sense was that it's just time to go home. I would see a lot of Jamaican women and selling fruit and such. And sometimes it would be late and it would be stormy and they would still be trying to sell. And so I painted this watercolor and it's time to go home. And then this particular watercolor was actually a demonstration. I was a demonstration on Zoom in March. Like everybody else, we had to close down our campus and continue to teach the class on Zoom. And it was my first experience. And I wanted to show my students a demonstration on watercolor. And I set up a still life and just went at it. And then I noticed that above here, it was a design of a shoe, a high heel shoe or high heel. And I named it, Where's My Shoe? So I think it turned out pretty well. My focus was on color, transparency, background, foreground, and middle ground for my students. And it's just a basic still life. As you can tell, I like to do still lifes. This,
Talbert.
yeah.
Okay, so Talver, we had a question for you. If you could take Talver off mute, Eliza. Linda Smith had a question about, she says she finds your work extraordinarily beautiful, and how in a watercolor were you able to convey such texture, movement, and depth? Talver, I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Yes, thank you very much. In order to establish movement in watercolor, as you know, watercolor to me is like a runaway lover. You have to negotiate with it. And so that's what I felt when I began to work with watercolor. How do I negotiate with it? Because it's constantly moving. And so in order to stop it sometimes, you had to let it stop on its own. So, and then to be able to infuse beautiful colors, I guess for me that's the whole thing of movement and rhythm and also texture. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We don't have any other questions. That was one that came up. And I have a link that we could share on YouTube that shows you doing the demonstration. So Liza will post that. And Babette, can you go to the next slide? Again, thank you, Talbert.
Thank
I know
you.
you just came from teaching.
Yeah.
Larissa Akarimi Johnson will be working with the Phantom Gallery. She also does experimental film, but she will be working with me in 2021 at the Evanston Arts Center to produce ceremonial teas in the context of African American social life. Her workshops will happen in February, February 15th, the day after Valentine's Day, and she has a reason for that. And then May 1st, she will be presenting a tea as well. And more information will come, and I have your information through our Zoom Connect that I can share with you. And also the Evanston Arts Center, we shared the link with you, and you can go there to get an update on our programming. Next slide. This is a short clip of Larissa's experimental animation.
I can't believe today's Friday. I'm so happy.
Next slide. We always want to give thanks to our supporters at this time. We received monies from these organizations to help sustain the Phantom Gallery, especially during the pandemic. And thank you guys for viewing and staying with us. Come next month in October, to Eventbrite to sign up for the Bronzeville Art District trolley tours.
Thank you, Alpha.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Brilliant, brilliant.
Good night.
Thank you. It was wonderful.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Can you save our chats, Vivek?
I actually recorded this
Okay.
locally to my machine as well, to my laptop.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good night.
Thank you very much.
Alpha? Are we-
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Space in the Gap, for tech support.
You're welcome. So
Debette Stevenson from Fresno, California, thank you for tech support.
you're welcome.
All right.